Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to yet another episode of Entertainment Evolved. This is an Evolved review, and I'm your host, James Caleb Kitchens, and today, this is the relaunch. I'm joined by none other than he is the booker and general manager of IWE in Augusta, Georgia. He also is a sales manager at a local car dealership. Welcome, Tim Blackmon, to the show.
Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. The interview that everybody thought would never happen.
I know, man, and this is, I got to give you credit. This was actually your idea, and immediately, when you said it to me, the gears started turning. It was like that's a fantastic concept, and I'd been taking a little break off, from the podcast, just to sort of like reorganize things because, I we've traditionally been almost purely wrestling focused, and I really wanted to kind of take us away from that. We're still going to cover some wrestling stuff, but kind of wanted to broaden the horizons a little bit and get into all kind of different topics that I'm interested in. And so I thought, what better for a relaunch than to come back with none other than Tim Blackmon?
So yeah, I think it's amazing. Two infamous people in Georgia. Likes to
Right,
stir up stuff. Now coming together, and we're just gonna, have some fun.
right, yeah,
It's just two guys having some fun.
yeah. I mean, hopefully no rolling controversy will come out of it, but it,
Uh, you know,
if it did, it wouldn't be the first time for either of us. You know what I mean?
ain't that a fact?
So, let's get into it here because, when you told me you wanted to be on here, I started thinking about it. I was like, well, we could come on here and talk about wrestling for an hour, but, um, that might be expected. So, I want to talk a little bit about the auto industry because, I think a lot of people outside of that industry don't really understand it that well. Um, I'm good friends with Tracy Myers, and he's in the same business.
Yeah,
That runs AML,
yeah.
I see you post things, I see him post things, and I'm always like, man, I never really thought about that. So I guess the first question here is like, what's something that like people outside of that industry, like if they're dealing with like a car dealership or something, like what's like the top thing you think somebody ought to know that you think most people don't know?
Well, I think that people outside looking in look at us as the devil for the most part because the past of old car sales guy, that kind of thing. So they come up with a wall, like a barrier that you have to kind of break through and just get to know them a little bit. And then, if they would come in a little more open minded and a little more, because all we do is want to help as well, So, um, but I mean, I get some things, that may happen to them in the past and stuff like that. But, at the end of the day, we both want to get to a goal of getting them into a vehicle that they love, So that the misconception would be that to start off with, even before you get into the nuts and bolts of a actual car deal.
Gotcha. Yeah, one of the things that I've always noted, and I've made posts about this on social media, right? Is like I see people getting like dressed up to the nines to go to the car dealership. You know,
Yeah, you don't have to do all that. I mean, everything's based off. We're not going to look at you any other way other than we want to sell a car. It doesn't matter how good your credit is, how you dress, how you look. It just, we want to do everything we can to help. And yeah, they try to dress up thinking that they, maybe have better credit that way. But I've seen people walk in with torn up shorts and flip flops and with 800 beacons. So it doesn't matter what you wear when we actually put the car deal together.
yeah. I mean that's my thing too. I'm like, man, if you as long as you got the cash or the credit or the combination of the two, you know, they
Yeah,
they're gonna sell you a car. They don't care how you're dressed.
that's right. That's right. People, the banks are the ones that make the decisions. All we can do is try to put you on the right vehicle that the bank will buy, and the bank makes the decision. And I think that's another misconception that they couldn't get me done, or they couldn't, they wouldn't allow me to buy the car. Well, it really didn't have anything to do with us. It's how you pay your bills and how you don't pay your bills. I mean that's what the bank looks at, not the dealership. So
Let's actually talk about that a second, because that's one of the things you mentioned is kind of like the process of like buying a vehicle. Do you have any advice for somebody as far as like, how to, if they're trying to walk away with a vehicle, like what's some advice you would have for somebody trying to do that?
All right, so let's say a new car buyer, like the first time they've ever purchased a car. Sometimes they come in with too high of expectations, thinking a bank is going to give them 50, $60,000 for a vehicle. Well, first time buyer, they only going to give you about 25, $30,000. They're going to want you to put anywhere from 500 to $1,000 down, and they'll put you in a car. But they we have people coming in all the time, 19, 20 year olds wanting to buy F-250 lifted 60, 70, $80,000, and then we have to break it to them, and then they get mad at us about not being able to get them done when it has absolutely nothing to do with us. Um,
I've seen that for sure, especially like
yeah,
younger folks.
yeah, and then they say, "Well, I'll just wait until I can get it. I'll just get me a little credit card." People, the misconception is they just don't understand that a $500 credit card doesn't. If you pay on that for 6, 8, 10 months, 12 months, that still doesn't constitute a $70,000 loan after a year. The only way to get to that is to actually purchase that 20, $25,000 car to get to that next step of a 35, 40, and then get to that next. You got to crawl before you walk, walk before you run. And, you have to be patient, especially when you're young. But the only way to get to a house, purchasing a house or purchasing something like that, is to start with that smaller amount of money and just prove to the bank you can do it. And then your credit score is going to jump, and then you can get whatever you want after it gets built.
Right. Yeah. Because now, correct me if I'm wrong here, but car dealerships typically, you guys aren't just looking right directly at the score, right? Like if you've got like a auto payment history, that factors into it heavily as well, doesn't
Oh,
it?
that factors into it tremendously. I mean, you could have a lower um, credit score and pay the banks every time on time, and the banks are going to score you a lot better, a lot different than they are if um, you got a high score and don't have a lot of car credit. I mean, the 600 credit with really good payment probably would get approved for more money than the 700 with no car credit.
Yeah. When I was younger, I got a little junk car from JD Byrider, which you know
Mm-hmm.
is what it is. But for those who don't know, it's like a buy here pay here type deal, and
Mm-hmm.
it is what it is. But it's like it was a little like I think it was a Dodge Stratus, one of those cars that like nobody buys on purpose,
Yeah.
and it was a piece of junk, but I made all my payments on time on it, paid it off, and then the next car I got, I got a brand new car, and I had like 1% interest on it, because they saw 3 solid years of never missing a payment.
Yep.
So it's doable, in not that long of a time.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, and I'll tell you that feeling of getting approved for that and driving out with a new vehicle is like, that's just something else.
Oh yeah. Definitely that feeling, and even on the salesman side, that feeling of seeing a happy customers is amazing to us as well. So and we take pictures of everybody and that kind of thing, and everybody. I mean, it's just it's a cool thing to see whenever somebody actually gets the car that they're looking for, and they get it by themselves, or like say a 20-something-year-old, they get it by themselves. They don't have to have mom or dad help them anymore, and it's just like that's a cool deal to see.
Yeah. Well, so before we move on from it, man, anything else about like the car industry you think that people listening ought to know?
Um, do your homework. Um, go to different websites, find different vehicles with pretty much the same options. Price check. Um, do the due diligence on your trade. Make sure you come in with a clean trade. Don't come in with the trade filthy.
Right.
People, it doesn't matter, but kind of does, because if we see somebody coming in that don't look like they took care of it, then obviously you can't get the max amount of money for your vehicle. But if you come in and it looks clean and it looks like it's taken care of, then the perception is that it's worth more money because it's not been ragged out or it's not been mistreated. So that would be another thing on the trades. Just make sure you take care of it. Make sure that you at least clean it before you come in, because that's a big deal when it comes to value in your trade. But if you get that, if you do that, then I think the process just moves faster, and we can put the number on the trade, and then we can keep on moving with the process a little quicker.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's good advice, man. I've unfortunately my last trade in was my old vehicle got totaled, but
Mm,
it was the other person's fault, so that check clears.
yeah.
But so it was like right when I was going to make the last payment on the thing too.
Oh
But
man, that's all. Yeah.
that's how it goes sometimes, man. But it is
Yeah.
what it is.
Yep.
But while you were saying that, it made me think of something else. I know a couple people have done like where they have like somebody pre-negotiate their car buy. Do you guys deal with that a lot?
Every now and then, we call them third base coaches. Obviously, you got kids, you got their parents doing it, but I've had a couple people come in and then they had like master negotiators or whatever come in with them.
Right.
But that's probably been one or two over 3 years that I've seen. Um, but uh, it's not as well known as you would think. I mean, people do it, but it's not that rampant in the car business.
Gotcha. I mean, do you think there's any sort of like a benefit to it? I mean, do you think that they're getting much out of it? Because I imagine if you're getting one of these like expert negotiators, they probably taking, they're probably getting a fee as well, right? I would imagine.
Yeah, I don't think that the cost is worth it. I mean, if you save a couple $100 on the car and you pay them a couple $100, then you're really
Right.
in the same position that you was before. So it's just you come in, like I said, you do your due diligence. You learn a little bit about it. You're obviously not going to know everything about the car business by studying and trading and buying, but at least you can come in with an educated plan about the way you would like to go, where you would like to be at, and that kind of thing. And if you get really close, then you win. So
Right. And my kind of thing too is it's like I've had a couple people that have done that. I think just to not spend as much time at the dealership, um, which I'll admit that's probably the worst thing about buying a car for me. When I got the car I have now, I had done like you said and pre-researched everything.
yeah,
I had looked up safety ratings and reviews and everything, so I knew exactly what I wanted, and so I was able to walk into the dealership and be like, "That's the car I want right there." And the guy was like, "Do you want to test drive it?" And I was like, "No, let's get the paperwork. I want to ride out of here in it."
now I would encourage everybody to test drive a pre-owned vehicle unless you're buying brand new. If you're buying brand new, fine, don't worry about that because you got warranties and whatnot. But if you're going and you're buying a pre-owned, even if it's a 2020, 2021, 2022 pre-owned, I would always at least get and drive it out for just a little ways, because every used car is different. So
Right.
something may be wrong with it. There's a reason why they traded it.
Right.
It- you know what I'm saying? It might not be anything wrong with it. They just might have wanted to move up, but there's a reason why they're not in that vehicle anymore. So
Yeah, I mean, especially I would always be looking at that, especially if it was like last year's model, something like that. That means somebody bought it and traded it pretty quickly.
yeah,
Um, Fortunately, the one where I was like, I don't want to drive it, I had already driven a similar car and it was brand new. But yeah, I mean, like
yeah,
you said, if it's a used vehicle, you definitely want to drive it because the last thing you want to do is fill out all that paperwork and spend the money and then you don't like driving it.
Yeah, and it doesn't even do what you want it to do. Like it doesn't feel right or something, even minor, so I would always encourage that. But yeah, if you own a new car and you already have driven one and you know what's going on, yeah, you can walk in and say, "Hey, I want that one. Let's do this paperwork. Let's get it rolling because I want to get out of here." So
Right, absolutely. Well, man, yeah, that's about the extent of anything I even know to ask about cars. I'm not the auto guy. I only know about things that have broken on mine personally uh, over the years, which is an extensive list. Because, like I told you, I used to drive that junker. Uh,
yeah,
you know, but
yeah,
it used to be have to have a mechanic in your back pocket, but you start driving something with a warranty on it, you don't have to worry about that so much.
that's a
Um,
fact.
and that is a peace of mind that is worth the money to me.
Oh yeah, definitely worth the money. Yep.
So I know you're a big Marvel fan, and we here on the show are also big Marvel fans. So wanted to talk to you about that a little bit. So kind of, I guess the last thing that came out in theaters was the newest Thor movie, Love and Thunder. Um, what did you think about that?
Oh man, um, had the Ragnarok feel. Um,
So before we go any further, did you like Ragnarok? Are you a fan of
I
Ragnarok?
I didn't. I didn't.
Okay,
Now here's the thing. My wife did.
gotcha.
She liked the comedy. She liked she liked the story and the Ragnarok or whatever. But me as a Marvel enthusiast, I don't know, enthusiast or whatever. But it just was like, oh, it was too forced comedy. It was like, oh my gosh, it probably is on the bottom tier. I would put them on the bottom tier for that movie, kind of like with Iron Man 3 or something. So it was, yeah. And then the new one, I mean, they still had the forced comedy, and it was like, oh gosh, can we just have the story?
Yeah, I um, wow. I hate to put anything down there with Iron Man 3, but man, I hate that movie.
Oh
The worst. But
yeah,
yeah. I mean, one of the things that I think is interesting in like the culture is when Ragnarok came out. I can remember seeing people just raving about it, and I thought at the time, I didn't really love this. But a lot of like your more kind of casual fans, I think, really liked it. And there's nothing wrong with being a casual fan, but for the people who are like really into the MCU, I don't think the Thor we got in Ragnarok is the Thor that we knew.
no, absolutely not. Yeah, I mean, you had the Thor that was, whooping ass and taking names, and then you got the sensitive, don't know what to do and how to make a decision Thor, and the woe is me Thor, and you know, it's just like it's just not the same dude in the Ragnarok movies and stuff. So I'm again, like my wife, she's a casual Marvel fan. She absolutely loved the entertainment. So I mean, I guess you got to have a little bit of everything. No different than putting together a show or something like that. You got to have this for the kids, that for the hardcore fan, and this for whatever. So I mean, I get the process and what you have to do as far as keeping everybody engaged, but it just wasn't for me.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. I think too one of the things about it, I enjoyed Love and Thunder more than Ragnarok. Um, but I think all of that comes down to the fact that I liked Gore as a villain more than I liked Hela, and
Yeah.
I really loved the like Natalie Portman's Mighty Thor. Uh,
Oh yeah,
she was the
she
best part
did.
of the movie to me, hands down.
She yeah, she did a really good job with that. Yeah, I definitely like the villain better in the new one for sure. Oh gosh, it was like hands down better acting, better theme, and me as being a dad, and so it kind of related. Like, what if I was in a position like that? So it kind of you felt something there, and that's really when you go see a movie, when you go to a show, when you go do something like that, you want to feel something, and if you can feel something, then you actually um you enjoy it, because it means something to you at the end of the day.
Yeah, I agree with that entirely. And you can't go wrong, Christian Bale.
No.
I'm a huge fan of him and just about everything he's in.
Yeah.
I even like the Terminator movie he was in, and everybody hates that movie. So yeah,
Not big on that one, but I still like Christian Bale.
yeah. I mean, so I think that having him there, and I don't want to take away from Kate Blanchett that played Hela, but like the writing for that character, she was just kind of your like mustache twirling kind of, like villain where it's just like she's pure evil and that's it. You know what I mean?
Sonic the Hedgehog, Jim Carrey.
Yeah, yeah. And you know what? That actually, I love Jim Carrey in that role as
Yeah.
Robotnik, but that movie is supposed to be like completely ridiculous.
Yeah, for sure.
Whereas like Hella is not that. You know what I mean? And it never should have been that.
Yep. Yep. I agree.
So yeah, man. I honestly, I think growing up, I like grew up with the Sonic the Hedgehog games. Since you mentioned Jim Carrey from Sonic, and
Yeah.
I never in my life thought about Jim Carrey playing Doctor Robotnik, but I'm telling you, I now I can't picture anybody else playing it, and I can't picture them making another Sonic movie without him in it.
Oh no, you couldn't. No, ain't no way. The way he played it, it's perfect with what they did, what they were trying to do with Sonic. I mean, I was a little older than you, so Sonic the Hedgehog was probably coming in when I was getting, jobs and kids and stuff like that, so
Right.
um didn't get to play it as much, but just the movies was, I mean, it was what you wanted. I mean, it was it kind of made you feel, like the games and that kind of thing. But yeah, Jim Carrey was great in that, in my opinion.
Yeah, I was a huge fan of him as a kid. Like when you're a 9-year old boy, like Ace Ventura is the most hilarious thing in the
Oh yeah.
universe. Um, I don't know if I could watch those now and think they were as funny. I hope I wouldn't think they were as funny as I did when I was 9 years old. Um, that would say a lot about me that I wouldn't want said. you know, but I loved him as a kid, and to see him kind of have like a resurgence, later was awesome.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I think he's given it up though. I think he said that he's at least taking a break, if not retiring.
Yeah, he's got I think he has some maybe demons that he wants to, handle or take care of. He's a real deep guy, so he's like, he might need to step away, family, and take care of himself. It's not a bad thing for people to, step away and just do some self-care. I mean, that's some of the most important care that you can get. I mean, that's another thing. I mean, we can continue to talk about Marvel for sure, but that's one thing that if you come to my shows, if you talk to the guys, I don't want to get on wrestling yet, but mental health is huge, huge, huge thing with me. I deal with it myself, and I just want everybody around me to know, no matter where it's at, that you are important type deal. So I mean, and if you watch Jim Carrey and you hear some of the things he says, it's like, oh, okay, I get that. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
that's yeah, that's another thing that just like I like about him as well. So
yeah. I mean, for one, this is your time, brother. We can talk about anything you want, but I agree with you entirely. Especially this is the thing too. If you ever seen any of like Jim Carrey's like darker roles, like Number 23 or Cable Guy, or
oh yeah,
Cable Guy was funny, but it had that real dark side to it.
yeah, it did.
And a lot of times that when you see actors that take these really dark roles and they're great at it, that's got to come from somewhere. You know
Oh,
what I
for sure.
mean?
Yeah, yeah.
They've got to have some kind of trauma they're relating that to, and it's just like uh, this is a horrible example, but I'm gonna go with it. Like Kevin Spacey, like
Oh yeah,
we
for
always
sure.
knew there was something wrong with that guy.
Yeah.
you
I
know,
mean, you can't play seven, and not have something going on there. You know what I'm saying?
right? Or his character in House of Cards, and
Oh yeah,
it was like you can't be that convincing if you don't have something you're drawing that off of.
Oh no, I mean, yeah, it's talking about deep. Yeah, it's you see those things and it's like, wow, yeah, there's something that there's something wrong with that guy there, uh, but I think that's if we relate that to just everyday life, I think more people often than not don't realize what everybody's going through in their life. Like it's nobody gives a crap about men. It seems like there's and if us men come out and say we have an issue, it's like, oh, you're weak. You're what's wrong with you? You know what I'm saying? So,
Right.
um, it's to go through some of those dark times just to be able to get out of it and just be able to encourage other people is the way we need to do it, in my personal opinion.
I agree, man. There's a lot of, that's sort of like macho. I gotta keep up this kind of facade all the time. Uh, and I think social media has probably made that worse
Oh
because
yeah, sure.
now you're not just doing it in person. You know what I mean? It's not just, oh, you see somebody and put a mask on for that person. Now it's you're doing it all day digitally.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I felt like my whole life I was a chameleon for putting my face on here, put my face on there, going to the church and put my face on there, going to this, put my face on there, and it's just, you can't really just be yourself and actually just, people don't really know who you are or what you're doing, and I think that's a misconception that people have of a lot of people, in many walks of life.
Right. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I would probably hate to have somebody like people that know me just from social media. You know what I'm saying? It's like that's a different guy than I am in real life, and I think that's a lot of people. And
Yeah.
not everybody necessarily does it on purpose, but it's just like you can't go on a Twitter feed or a timeline and get a full explanation of who a person is. You know what I mean?
No, no, you can't even get who a person is in a conversation. Yeah,
Right.
I mean, you got to like sit down and intimately know somebody and like spend time with them, um, to actually know what's going on. I mean, like this, you probably didn't know that I had those issues. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I don't post stuff like that for the most part. It's like, so people wouldn't really know that about me. But so yeah, social media is just it's a toxic place to be.
Yeah, I mean it is, and it's one of those things where it's just like real life where the people you surround yourself with are going to have an influence on you and them, and it's the same way on social media too. The kind of mind games you start getting into playing and things like that. It's like you were talking about. You put a different face on for this or for that, and I think at the end of the day, man, and that is probably making a lot of people's mental health issues worse. Um, and I've suffered from depression in the past, and I have like severe anxiety. I go to therapy for it,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
I would say to a lot of people, that you you can't be ashamed to go to therapy. I've been going for 3 or 4 years,
Yeah.
and even I don't think I think it's one of those things where people think that is for if you have something wrong, but I think a lot of people could use it.
No, for
Um,
sure. Sure.
even if you don't feel like, oh, like even if because like I've never had a suicidal thought. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, a lot of people think that it's for that if you feel that way, and I'm like, nah, man. Sometimes it just helps to sit down and talk to a professional about just the for lack of a better word, the shit that comes with
Yeah.
everyday life in general.
I mean, people just don't understand the how somebody with depression and anxiety actually manages through a day and where the mind goes and where the mind takes you and what you have to do to overcome those obstacles throughout the day of of the anxiety and of the depression, and how that's a constant battle over and over and over and over. And you go to a counselor, you go to a psychiatrist, not to because you're trying to kill yourself or something, but you go in because you want to do preventative maintenance with your mind. You want to get those thoughts of what's going on out to somebody, a third party who has no dog in the fight and is there just to listen objectively. I mean, I've tried to open up to family members or whatnot. Nobody really gets it because they think, oh well, you should just do this or you should just do that and you'll be fine. But to have that, you know, uh, sounding board that you can just say, hey, I got this, I got this, I got that, and then they come back and say, okay, well then let's do this, let's do this, let's do this, and let's try to get better. It's just a different way to cope with those things, and I think it's an important way. If anybody's feeling any kind of way, I think they need to just go. You know, you know,
Right.
yeah, it's very, very, very important.
I agree. And one piece of advice I would have too, is a lot of people will think, oh well, I don't want to get put on medication, and that's a fine thought to have. Some people need that, but if that's something where you just absolutely don't want it, you can go see a therapist that doesn't, prescribe medication, and they're just going to listen to you. Now they
Yeah,
might say, hey, I think you could benefit from this, but they don't have the ability to put you on anything, and I think that's a major fear that I hear when I talk
yeah,
to people about like therapy and things like that.
oh yeah, for sure.
Because there are, I mean, and that is a very real thing since we're talking about it. I mean, there
Yeah.
are places where you'll go, and I've been um, to see a psychiatrist where I didn't feel like they listened to me at all, and they were like, "Here's some medication,"
Oh yeah, for sure.
So
Yeah.
you do have to watch that.
Oh yeah, you do have to watch that, and then you go find somebody that will actually, you feel comfortable with, and then you actually start feeling better, and um, you know, and then you keep going to that person, and then hopefully you won't need therapy forever. It's not like it's something forever per se, but you go for a little while, you feel better, you try to make things out on your own. If something happens, triggers, you go back. It's not like something that you have to do every 2 weeks, every month, or whatever, but you need to do it when you need it.
Right.
So
Yeah. I mean, I agree entirely, and it's like, not everybody's amazing at their job. Uh, sometimes, especially I think with therapy, I think you really kind of have to find somebody that you're very comfortable with, and that that's going to be good for you.
oh, I agree.
Especially, I mean, it's like, other than airline pilots, like there's people that aren't great at their job in every field.
That's a fact. Yeah, not everybody can get a 400 credit score bought, so I know.
Is that an accomplishment? Is that a
that
thing?
that is an accomplishment when you can take somebody that is very poor at paying their bills and get them in a car. That's an accomplishment.
Oh yeah,
That
I
they
know. I'm saying, is that something that you've done though? Because that's impressive.
Oh yeah, oh yeah,
Yeah,
numerous times. Yeah, numerous times. So
that's another level, my friend. Uh, I try to keep mine out of those 400, but if it ever ends up there, I know who to come see.
there you go.
um, so I want to circle back. I love that tangent that we got off on though, because
Yeah.
man, mental health, especially in this country, it's so stigmatized, and I guess before we move on, I'll talk about this for a second. It's funny because when I was in high school, I was on the debate team. Imagine that,
Yeah.
and nobody saw that coming.
Yeah.
I remember being in like 10th grade, and so this was, I'm about to expose my age here, but this was like 2003, 2004,
Yeah.
and I remember the like national topic that year was like, it was around the stigma around and the lack of mental health care in this country. And I'm like, that was 20 years ago, and it was like a national debate topic.
Yeah.
So it's like this has been a huge issue for a long time. And I think it
Yeah.
has gotten better since then, but I think we got a long way to go.
Oh yeah. I mean, I could see where it's got a little bit better, but shoot, it definitely has a ways to go, and it just needs to have people that actually give a crap about people. I mean, you got to actually care. That's the issue.
Man, wouldn't we solve a lot of problems with that one?
Oh, I know. I mean, no matter what color, race, creed, sexual orientation, whatever, if we just loved each other, I mean, sheesh, and we just cared for each other. Well, how much further would we get? Sheesh.
Yeah, I mean, I try to avoid getting into religion on here, but
Oh, I know.
I saw well, I'm gonna bring it up. I saw a meme a while back, and it's and I love this one. It's a scene of the crucifixion, and one of the
Yeah.
people in the crowd is saying, "What did that guy do?" And the other person says, "He told them to love one another." And the other person says, "Yeah, that'll do it."
Yeah, that'll definitely do it.
You know.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
So
for sure. Yeah, I don't want to get on that tangent per se because we probably would talk for like 2, 3, 4 hours. But yeah. I just think if we just look past everybody's faults and whatnot and just care about each other, actually give a shit about each other, this place will be a lot better.
yeah, I mean, and that comes down to I think we do what we can. There's only so much we can control.
That's true.
We can control how we interact with others,
Yep.
uh,
That's a.
and that's about it. That's about all
Mm-hmm.
we've got. So
Yep.
I got a good segue for this. We're talking about mental health, man. So we talked about Moon Knight a little bit, and that's definitely a show where that came into play. What,
For
what did you, what did you think about the Moon Knight show?
too relatable at times. I mean, uh, yeah, it was uh, it was dark. It was uh, it was just trying to think of a way to portray it. It was all it was supposed to be, in my opinion. It wasn't your normal Marvel show, your normal what you would think. I mean, it brought the gods in, it brought all kinds of stuff in. So, but I think it was what it was, and they did kind of tie a little bit together. But well, the actor in that one, he's freaking stupid good anyway, and just about
Oscar Isaac.
anything. Yeah, Oscar. Yeah, he's stupid good in anything he does. To be honest, so can't help but be, just he grasps you and brings you in, and it was really good in my opinion.
Yeah, there's a movie he's in. This was the movie that really turned me on to him called Ex Machina. I don't know if it's still on Netflix, but it used to be. It's kind of like a Westworld type thing where this guy's like trying to build like humanoid kind of robots or whatever.
Yeah,
And it's really he's fantastic in that. It's really good. And then of course like he got his big break with Star Wars,
yeah,
and
yeah.
and it was good to see him, still making waves and doing cool things.
Yeah, don't get me started on Westworld. I'm only on season 2. So.
So here's what I'll say about Westworld. I loved the first season,
I did
absolutely
too.
loved it.
Yeah,
Um, Season two, not so much.
yeah,
But it does get better. I thought that season 3 and 4 were both worlds better than season 2.
good. So I got something to look forward to.
Yeah, man. Season 3, they bring in what is his name? Aaron Paul, the guy that played Jesse Pinkman in Breaking Bad,
Yeah, yeah,
and he's fantastic. And he brings a whole nother dynamic, I think, to the show. And his character in season 4, so good. I really thought that he should have got an Emmy nomination for it. So
good. I got something. I'm struggling through season 2. I'm fighting through it. So
yeah,
like I'm
I took a several
yeah,
year break, man, after I watched season 2. It was
yeah,
that bad to me.
yeah. It's the whole. I mean, it's hard to keep up with for one, but you're just kind of like, where are we going with this type deal? So that's where I'm at now, and I'm trying to fight through it. So
Yeah, it's rough, but I think it does pay off. And season 3 to me was, you could tell that they try to bring it in and make it less of like, they try to make it more linear, kind of easier to follow, less like constant crazy nonsense that you're like, Because I feel like in season 2 they're just constantly trying to top season 1 and they can't do it.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Season one was really good. While we're on like shows, and whatnot, what about the new Game of Thrones coming out tonight or House
it
of the Dragon?
it does come out tonight, man. And so let me tell you a little bit about my experience with Game of Thrones. I was a book reader. I read the books kind of as they came out. Um, not not the first two. I think around the time the third one came out, I kind of started hearing about it. I read the first three. I thought they were brilliant. Four, it was pretty good, and five was okay.
Yeah,
Book five came out around this time the show started. Like it came out right before the first season,
yeah,
and then they he still has not put out another book, and it's been like 10 years. But the show, man, I was really hyped about it. I got all my friends into it. Very first episode, and I really loved it. I think until that last season,
yeah.
and that last season just killed it for me.
It was not good, not
Uh,
good at all.
so yesterday, actually, in kind of in preparation, I guess, for the new show coming out, I said season 4 is like my favorite season. So let me go and watch a little bit of that because I haven't watched any Game of Thrones
Yeah,
since it went off. Not a second of it. And I watched an episode and I was like, man, this used to be really good. So the new episode, I'm gonna give it a chance. When they first announced it, I said no, I don't want it.
yeah.
But I'm gonna give it a shot. I'm gonna give it a couple of episodes and see what they got. I'll be honest, they kind of got me a little excited for it, man. What about you?
Yeah, I'm a little excited about it. I mean, I'm looking forward to the backstory. I think, gosh, there's so many ways they could go. But yeah, I'm looking to see the backstory, see how things, if they can bring it together a little bit. But like I said, the one of my favorite in the Game of Thrones was Jeffrey get taking the poison. That was like probably a pop for that bigger than anybody. Um,
I think that was the pop heard around the world, man.
yes, for sure. The ultimate heel finally taking the fall. Yeah.
Yeah, that moment when Ramsey Bolton finally gets his when they let the dogs eat him,
Oh
um,
yeah.
was
Yeah.
that was a good one too.
Oh yeah. Arya coming back and getting revenge, slicing his throat, whatever. Yeah. Real good times.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see if they can build on that because a lot of people, this is true with I think a lot of the really huge shows of our time, Game of Thrones, Breaking Bad, um,
Walking
Lost. What did you
walking
what you say?
Walking Dead.
Yeah, Walking Dead. A lot of those did not get big in the first season.
No.
Um,
No.
Breaking Bad, especially, a lot of people didn't start watching that until like around season 3 or 4 when like the kind of just fervor in society for that show just got so big. Same with Game of Thrones, and then everybody you start getting the casual viewers
Yeah.
catching on to it. Then especially today where you can just pull up streaming and binge it and catch up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So back in the day, you really couldn't do that
No,
for the
you had to
kids
sit and
listening.
wait every week. You had to sit and wait every week. And hey, trust me, back in the day, when I had to get up and turn the channel and I was the remote control, back in the old days, we had to wait every week and didn't have no computer system or no dial up or anything like that. Yeah, I'm that old. So
I remember those days, man. We're in that like unique generation where it's like we know how to use the internet, but we also remember a time without it.
oh, for sure.
So
For sure. Yeah. My
I'm
dad would sit on the couch and I would have to sit beside him on the floor, and if he wanted to change the channel, he'd say, "Get up, go change it."
yeah, we used to have one of those old the floor model TVs where it's like you had the big knob that did like 1 through 13, and then you turn it to like 0, and then you had the bigger knob at the bottom that had like the next like 30 channels on it or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh gosh, talking about old.
Yeah, I mean, and only like six of them came in anyway. So
Yeah, yeah. Oh
yeah,
man, good
I
times.
yeah, I grew up in the country, so like we didn't have but three or four channels anyway, you know. So uh, I was watching like Thundercats and Power Rangers and all that on Fox, and that was it.
Oh yeah, I remember coming home and a big thing was watching Saved by the Bell or something. That's how old I am. Like,
That's that late '80s.
yeah, I mean that was before Screech went crazy.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. That was the celebrity madman of the time.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. But yeah, now that I done put my age out there, whew,
Hey man, it is what it is. They say 50's the new 30, so
that's right. That's right.
we got something to look forward
That's right.
to. um, I forgot where we were at now. I actually love just kind of the natural we get on like a tangent and go off in that direction. So
Oh
it
yeah.
it works for me. Um, But yeah, I mean, a lot of those big shows kind of had that happen, and I think I don't know. But House of the Dragon tonight, they have a lot to prove because they really they really killed that fandom. You know what I mean? It
They
was
did.
like it was everywhere. I go to a lot of conventions and stuff, and all over the place there just be Game of Thrones this that you'd have a vendor hall where you may have 100 vendors in there and 20 of them are selling Game of Thrones merch in some way, shape, form, or fashion, and people are
Yeah.
buying it.
Yeah.
Whereas I went to MomoCon earlier this year, which is a really big convention, and I go to Dragon Con every year, and it's the biggest in the Southeast. And
Yeah.
I hardly ever see any Game of Thrones stuff ever anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
It
it's
yeah
a huge
definitely
break.
died down. Yeah. Well, I mean the last season was worth it dying down a little bit before it come back. So I'm glad they waited, to be honest, because everybody just took a hit on that last episode, and it was like, are you kidding? So now that they've done, waited out that, anger from the fans, that maybe that this is going to be good enough to bring everybody back to a Game of Thrones, sitting on the edge of your seat type feel.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I think tonight they have a very interesting opportunity, and I hope they don't squander it. Um, so it's Game of Thrones, man. So
Oh,
you know,
sure.
if they got like violence and sex and dragons, they can only go so wrong with that, or so we
True.
thought.
True. Oh man.
Well, I think we've let them on long enough, man. I think we got to talk about a little bit of wrestling. I know we were like, how long can we really go and never even bring it up? Uh,
I think we
but
did pretty good.
yeah, I mean, I know we both got busy schedules, but we probably could have went for another hour,
Yeah.
just about random kind of stuff. Just because we don't talk that often, so when we
Yeah.
do, we got plenty to catch up on.
That's a fact.
Um, so let's talk wrestling a little bit, man. One of the things that we stopped doing episodes around the time AEW did Forbidden Door, and that I don't want to go too much into it, but that really just like killed. Like I was bored with wrestling, and
Yeah.
then that kind of time period where like a lot of people were injured, and I feel like the creative wasn't great in either company on a national level. It just kind of I got to the point where I was, like I was getting really bored with it, and it just wasn't hitting for me. And of course, since then, a million things have happened, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, I felt the same way. Like, I mean, there was weeks and weeks that I mean, I'll record Raw, I'll go click through it, or I'll record Dynamite, but I'll click through it, fast forward through 90% of it. So yeah, I feel you on that, but yeah, it was not in a good place for sure.
Yeah, it's 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 definitely like I think one of the times where it just wasn't hitting, and it's weird because there's competition, right? And we're
Hmm.
kind of used to there not being any, and so it used to be with WWE would go through like a lull. It'd be like, well, it is what it is. But for both companies to be in that situation at the same time, that never happened. During the Monday Night Wars. You
Oh,
know.
I agree. I agree. It was, you could flip back and forth and not get bored right there until the end when you watch WCW, and it was the same old stuff over and over.
Oh
But
man, WCW 2000. We don't.
yeah, it was not a good.
I was gonna say, man, we're gonna have to get Caleb Stovall out here if you want to talk about that. He's the only person I know that watches that.
Yeah,
So, uh, that man watches so much wrestling, man. I that's why I have him on here so
yeah.
often is because it's like, I could be like, oh, did you see, this episode of Nitro from like '91? And he's like, oh yeah, that was such and such.
He'll
you
roll off
know,
the whole card.
right? Yeah, I'm just like, man, I can't do that. Um,
But my take on AEW,
yeah,
um, my take on AEW is, I just feel like it's, when I watch the pay per views, I watched the last couple pay per views and whatnot. It just feels like there's just multi man match after multi man match after multi tag match after. It's just like, just let's just throw 45 to 50 people out there and just let them flip and do their thing. But it's like, gosh, I just want to see a solid one on one, or a solid simple tag. Just, it's just, oh my gosh, it's so too much in my opinion.
I agree with you. This is something I was thinking about last night, and I was like, you know, when I was still booking, I used to go to a ton of indie shows and scout, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't go to a lot of them anymore because I'm not scouting, right? And it's
Yeah.
like, I remember having people be like, why don't you just look at YouTube? And I'm like, look, I would encourage any wrestler to have a highlight reel, but and you know this, when you booking somebody, a highlight reel doesn't do it. The only thing
No.
that does is tell me that you know how to do a bunch of moves,
Yep.
which is fine, but it doesn't tell me about your ability to work a room.
Yeah.
And I think that's lost on a lot of these guys, man. So few, like when you have somebody like Christian come out there, or or Daniel Bryan, or Eddie Kingston, and they're working the room, you can
Mm-hmm.
tell such a huge difference
Oh
from
yeah.
the people who are just going out there and having a indie-rific match and doing a bunch of moves to each other.
Yeah. I mean, look at Chris Jericho compared to Hook.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, Chris Jericho's got 50,000 fans singing his song to him, back to him, and Hook's like, okay, I'm gonna do a bunch of flips, y'all gonna cheer, and I'm gonna go home.
Right. Yeah. And what's the longevity on that? Because anybody can say what they want about Chris Jericho, but you cannot deny the fact that he's managed to stay relevant and healthy. I think longer than anybody.
Oh gosh, yeah. Anybody.
I mean, I'd
Yeah.
give I'd give it to Rick, but we had to put the healthy part in there.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So much powder in Rick's life. I don't think he was healthy after the first 5, 6 years, to be honest.
My God, did you see any of the Ric Flair's last match stuff?
I couldn't watch it. I'm sorry. I'm probably one of the only ones that didn't, but I just couldn't. I just wanted to remember the Ric Flair Shawn Michaels last. I haven't watched any footage of it. I haven't watched anything. I just didn't. I didn't want that to be the last thing I've seen of Flair, to be honest.
I completely agree, and you honestly aren't that alone in that. I know a lot of people that didn't watch it. I was
Yeah.
curious, and I did watch it, and that card was ridiculous because so much of it was like a bunch of like modern day indie acts,
Yeah.
and it was like these people. It was like it was just like Bizarro Land because it was like Jim Crockett Promotions, and then you'd have like a super indie match. And I'm like, these people are here to see Ric Flair. They're not popping for your spots,
Yeah.
And then like Rock and Roll Express came out, and they had huge reaction for them.
Yeah.
And it was Bizarro land. The roast of Ric Flair was pretty good. If you like roasts, the only
Yeah,
thing I will say about that though is the comedians they hired to do the roast were amazing, but most of the
yeah.
people that they had in the wrestling business had no idea what a roast is. You know,
People that cut promos for a living didn't know what a roast is.
yeah, it's like I don't know, man. There's a lot of the people that were up there on the dais were, you know, probably a generation before us, and that sort of old school mentality. Um, you know, there was a lot of people that like I guess they just didn't want to poke fun at anybody, but I'm like, man, it's a roast. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? It's
that's
like,
what it's for. Yeah,
yeah, it don't it's not there for people to get butt hurt. It's a roast.
yeah,
Like Bully Ray, for example, he went up there and he was like, I don't have anything bad to say about anybody up here, and it's like, it's a roast, man. Just give it up. You know, you
yeah.
clearly didn't get the instructions.
And Bully Ray did not have anything bad to say about somebody's a joke in itself.
Yeah, I was like, but what about what about your podcast, man?
Yeah, for
So,
real.
but yeah, it was. I don't blame you at all. I think the send off with Sean was incredible, and the match he had at Starcast, it was. I mean, for his age, I guess it was impressive, but at the same time, it's like nobody that age ought to be in a wrestling ring,
Yeah,
and I feel bad because Andrade, Lethal, and Jarrett are all still
yeah,
fantastic, and
yeah. I
that.
love Lethal.
Oh man, me too.
Yeah,
Nicest guy too.
yeah,
I got to talk to him at WrestleCade, and he saw I have a Captain America case on my phone, and he
yeah,
saw that, and we sat there and talked about Marvel for 30 minutes. You know,
yeah. That's awesome.
he's
Yeah, Lethal's an awesome dude. So
yeah, I got nothing bad to say about him at all. He's fantastic.
yeah,
But if we
yeah.
were on a roast, I would roast him.
Oh, for sure. Yeah,
um, on the topic of wrestling, man. So I do want to touch on this because a lot of people don't know this. So you actually have a documentary. It was on. Was it on Netflix at one point, or still is?
it was on Netflix. It's not anymore. It was on Amazon Prime for a while. It was out there over the last say 10, 15 years.
I don't know
Uh,
if we have talked about this ever,
probably probably not.
but I am in that for like 12 seconds.
It got a lot of the local guys around. Yeah, got tons of them.
Yeah, it was at one of the TWF shows.
Yeah. Yep.
And there was like they were interviewing somebody, and like I was in the background going over a match with my opponent, just breaking kayfabe like crazy with the camera crew there. How dare I?
Yeah, for real. Yeah,
So,
how dare me and Hamrick go over a whole match on the big screen?
I know, man. I here's the thing. I you brought up Hammer, and it's like I can remember he had a match with Chris Main in like 2005, 2006 at Patriots Park,
Yeah.
and that dude took a cutter on the gym floor and didn't even turn his head, and I was just like, man, I would never do that. I have so much respect for this man.
Yeah. I mean, well, and then on the front of Wrestling for Jesus, you have Chris Hamrick. If that's not an oxymoron, talking about a roast, I don't
Right?
know what is.
Yeah. I haven't seen the documentary in a while, but I remember watching it because I mean I just know so many of the people on it.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
um
talking about dark times. Whew. That's dark times in my life over the years, but it's out there. Would I do it again? Probably not. You
right.
know, I I don't know. I think it was a little too intimate, but that's what documentaries are supposed to be.
Well, at least
If
you
you,
didn't get Dark Side of the Ring.
yeah, yeah, I didn't get Dark Side of the Ring. I'm good on that. So, but it's my dark side of the ring, to be honest. If you put the whole story in perspective, that was my dark side of the ring during that time. But we was doing the the wrestling for Jesus gimmick and stuff, and lots changed since then. Shoot, lots changed. I think that's why me and you. I think that's where the first altercation or not seeing eye to eye actually took place. And to grow to where we're at now is just it's a tremendous difference.
Well, and here's the thing: is that was what 15? No, more like 17 years ago now.
Yeah, about 17 years ago.
We're old, man,
Oh yeah,
and
yeah,
and it's just like I can't fathom either of us having not grown as people since then.
yeah.
Uh, and I mean we both have tremendously, but it's just like just think about how many people you do know that you've watched them not grow in that amount of time.
That's a fact. And hey, let's be real. Everybody out there's probably listening for this, but there's times that me and you probably want to choke each other right now. But we are grown adults, and like I said, we can have this conversation. We can have a good time. You know,
Yeah,
I, yeah. So it's called life.
yeah. I mean that's true. And here's the thing too, and this is you know there's no secret to anybody listening to this, I imagine, except for we got a couple overseas listeners. I don't know why they listen to this, but I'm glad they do. So shout out to them. They probably have no idea what we're talking about right now, but
Probably not.
when when I was in the wrestling game, it's like you know, do I regret some things I did? Sure, but it ain't gonna change them. It's like I would rather focus on today and tomorrow than yesterday.
Bro, I've screwed up so many times over my wrestling career, whatever. Man, it's just I sit here and I think back of all the crap that I've done and not done, and it's just, man, it blows my mind. So yeah, to grow and to come out of all that and just to be where we're at now, I think's just a tremendous thing, to be honest.
I think so too, and I think a lot of I can't imagine when that documentary came out. You probably were looking at it, pretty negatively, but I think today for somebody to watch that who knows you today, I think I think that's a great testament to just growth.
Yeah, yeah, because I mean, I've grown as a person, grown as a you know. It, again, we don't want to get religion involved and that kind of thing, but there's a lot of growth and development in your basis of belief, in my basis of beliefs over the years, to not necessarily totally change and throw all of that out the window, but to be able to see a different way and a different path to working with people and treating people, and how to take all of that negative in the past and then start making positives out of it. It's something that I wake up every day. I don't want to be that same guy. I want to be a better guy. So, and that's kind of the way I look at life now. It's like, and this is not, I'm not trying to be cheesy by any means, but because hell, I'll still go out and screw up tonight, or I'll piss somebody off later. I mean, it's going to happen. It's just the nature of who I am. But um, I really do want to do. I don't want to treat people like I was before. I don't want people think the religion side of me and that kind of thing is who I am even today. And I might be a little bit of that still, but I am a totally different person in the way I see things in this world now.
Right, and I think one of the things that I heard that a quote that sticks with me all the time is the most important step you can take is the next one.
Yeah,
And I think I think about that. I try to think about that every day. And when it comes to like pro wrestling for me, it's like I got to be either in it 100% or I don't want to do it. And
yeah,
it's like it's that way for me for a lot of things. That's one of the reasons why like I've backed away from so many things in my life to start writing is I can't go half into something. It won't work out for me or anybody else.
Yeah.
So when I think when the pandemic happened and there was that break from wrestling, when I think when everybody came back, for me it just wasn't. I didn't get that feeling like, hey, this is what I want to do 100%. Because a lot
Yeah.
of people don't understand if you're running. Like, I mean, no, nothing against the workers or whatever, but
Mm-hmm.
having both of us have been in a situation where we've booked a show and we've been booked on a show, and
Mm-hmm.
when you're booked on a show, like it's way less stress than when you're booking the show.
Oh, that's a fact.
There's no comparison, and it's not a it's not a like right now. I know with you guys are doing like 6 dates a year, and we were doing like 6 dates a year. It's not 6 days; it's 365 days.
Yeah. Yeah.
That you gotta you work a month, 2 months, whatever to get to that one show day and have it go off smooth.
Yeah. Yeah. It's tons more than what people think. Tons more.
And that's the indie wrestling version of smooth, where
Yeah.
like only one person doesn't show up. you know,
You
no
don't get
no no
3 hours.
major issues.
Yeah, I'm not coming, by the way. Or you get the guy you're flying into town, and oh, by the way, my flight's delayed. Probably won't get there till 8 or 9 o'clock. Eh, it's, I think we
Man,
both had that happen before. So
man, I've told this story a couple times, but we had that happen, and this speaks to the professionalism of both these guys. We had Pillman Jr. coming in,
hmm
and our show was supposed to start at I think 7. Yeah, 7, and he still hadn't landed in Augusta yet when the show started.
mm,
He was supposed to be in Augusta at like 3 p.m., but like some bad storms like delayed his flight, delayed his flight, delayed
yeah,
his flight.
yeah,
We were gonna have somebody come pick him up from the airport, but then we were like, we can't send anybody that late. We're gonna have people at the gym. I think this was like one of our security guys or something was gonna go get him. So we were like,
yeah.
can we send you the money for an Uber and you take an Uber? And he was like, yeah, yeah, no problem. So literally, he gets changed into his wrestling gear in the Uber. He walks into the building 8 minutes before his music plays. And he was wrestling Darius Lockhart, and the two of them went out there, and you would have never believed that they had just met each other 8 minutes prior.
I was there that night. That was yeah. I was there. It was a yeah. Darius is a class act too, by the way. Um, but
Agreed.
yeah, that match come out really really good. How about we had Hammerstone flying in, right?
Right.
Coming into Atlanta. Um, Everything looking good. Probably be there same time, about 3 o'clock or so. So we had plenty of time to get him here. And that's the day that the gun went off in the Atlanta
Mm.
airport. So
Oh
they
man.
so they shut down the whole Atlanta airport. And just the class act that he is, we actually got him there, and I mean, we took care of him obviously, but he got there and he all he could do was a run in like right at the end of the show because he got there at like 10 o'clock. So it was people don't understand that. It's like, well, why didn't you try to get him in here early, bro? A gun went off in Atlanta airport. They're not just gonna let people out, okay?
If anybody's listening to this and you've never been to the Atlanta airport, let me just set the scene for you. It's basically a small city.
Yeah,
At any given time, the population of the Atlanta airport is more than the town I grew up in.
yeah, that's a fact. It's huge. And I'm calling. He's sitting there, sitting on the tarmac in the plane, not letting him leave. And this is like for 2 hours, and we're just texting back and forth. So
Right.
it I mean, before he could even get off on, I mean, they had to secure everything. So yeah, when it comes to booking, people don't understand the stuff that you get. I mean, it's crazy. O'Shea Edwards up in Baltimore, sitting on the tarmac, storms, lightning, tornado, whatever's coming up, and he's like, "Bro, I'm just getting off the plane. I'm just gonna be sitting here for 4 or 5 hours. There's no way I'm gonna get there." Like people don't understand that part. And then when they don't show up, it's like, what happened? Like what? Just yeah, we did the best we could. Let's keep rolling.
Yeah, that's the indies, man. I mean, like AEW and WWE have this kind of stuff happen.
Oh yeah,
So, but yeah, man. I feel like we've been going at it for a while.
oh yeah,
We might have to do a part two to this. I think we got a lot more to talk about.
oh yeah. I think so. Definitely need to do part two. Heck, it may need to be a four episode. You can cut this one into half.
We'll do a last ride
Yeah, do a
style
last.
series. Um, well, I do want to go ahead and wrap it for now. But before we go, man, I know you guys got a big show coming up with IWE. What's the next date there, and how can people get tickets?
It's September 10th. House of Cards at the American Legion on 90 Millage Road. You can go to IWE tickets online.ticketleap.com and grab them up. Front row's about sold out. I only released a couple matches. We've got um, Jordan Kingsley versus Suge. We got Lindsay Snow versus Shalance Royale coming out now. So those are a couple of the big matches that we've released. We got some more in the works that we're going to release out later. But yeah, should be a fun time.
Man, I'll tell you, Kingsley is one of those people that I regret having never got the chance to work with. He needs to be more places.
When I went
Uh,
to Southern Honor, he really impressed me.
yep,
So
same place
yeah,
I saw him.
there was it was a no brainer to try to get him to come in, and it took a few months, but we're working it out, and he's coming in, and then I just absolutely love Suge, so he's just a different cat, but I absolutely love him.
Suge's a legend in Augusta, man.
For
I
sure,
mean,
for sure.
hands down.
Yeah,
Well, man, I really appreciate you joining me here today. And I appreciate you having this idea because I have had a blast, man.
I've had fun. I've had fun. It's one of the best interviews that I feel like I've had in the wrestling business, to be honest.
Hey, well, I'm glad to be a part of it, man. So we'll have to do this again.
All right, man. Sounds good.
All right. Well, with that being said, man, we'll go ahead and wrap this up. And this has been Entertainment Evolved featuring Tim Blackmon.